ladies and gentlemen. It's a great joy for me to conduct another multi-millionaires graduation ceremony today. I'm even more excited by the fact that it's the 12th graduation ceremony conducted in just less than 6 weeks. Before we go into the actual graduation, let me just quickly make some important points. Our first graduation on the 30th of Hamid saw about 14 members, family members graduate. Our second graduation saw 50 pass through this podium. Third graduation saw 60 graduate. Fourth graduation saw 75 were financiers. Fifth graduation show 85 pass through, sixth graduation show 90 world financiers, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th graduation show each of them 100 million multi-millionaires pass through. And today, on the 3rd of Sapphire, I'll be graduating another 100 multi-millionaire world financiers. That will take us to more than 1,000 graduates so far. Our 12 graduations have not come through easily. As usual, we passed through all kinds of criticisms from various conventional-minded critics. Many doubted that the system would truly release the funds after graduations. Others said we were wasting our time creating our own sovereign monetary system and should just come under the conventional ABG, PNG, World Bank IMF monetary system. However, we know exactly what we're doing and must graduate our people so they can have full access to their multi-millions invested with us. If I did not graduate in 1998, I wouldn't have started the US stock system and we wouldn't be here today. In the same way, if you do not graduate today, you won't be controlling the multi-millions or billions of funds now at your disposal. I mentioned several times that I did not have any funds in my hands when I first graduated in 1998. It was my graduation on the 30th of June that enabled me to kickstart the multi-US system on the 8th of July 19 and access my universal funds, causing a massive financial earthquake throughout the world of PNG, Bougainville, Malaysia. It's the same with you. Though you have multiple funds of millions of funds in your accounts, you have not utilized yet your funds for trade, commerce, business, etc., etc. It's my responsibility to make sure you access and utilize your funds fully after this graduation. By graduating as multi-millionaire financiers, you are putting a burden on or proof on me, meaning that I must now do everything possible in my royal power and authority to enable you to utilize all your funds. If I don't make it happen as promised, then it only shows that I'm incapable of fulfilling my promises. So leave that part to me. Your part of the covenant is to graduate from the wilderness. My part is to give you everything I promised to give you. Covenant. Recently, in one of my speeches, I mentioned that I'm a covenant man of God. God, my Father, made a covenant with me and I with him at the turn of the century of millennium. First on 2nd November 1999, second on 1st January 2000, and thirdly on 15th February 2000. Furthermore, our covenant was sealed by my own precious blood on 21st November 2006. Every morning when I'm shaving my beard, I see my seal of victory on my left jaw over the mirror, and I remember the covenant. I have 3 major covenants that bind and control my life and relationship with God my Father. All my covenants have their own separate seals and dispensations and are forever and or eternal. Therefore, I cannot fail God, my senior covenant partner and friend, and he too cannot fail me, his partner and friend. Every time some issues pop up, I remember my covenants and the promises we made to each other and move on with life. Not only am I his own covenant partner and friend, but I'm also his own covenant son. I have also mentioned over the years how I made covenants with certain people, friends and leaders whom God had brought to me on the horizontal plane. God specifically prepared and brought them to me for a purpose, according to his own master plan, mysteries and omniscience. I cannot fail them, and they too cannot fail me, because our covenants are forever. For example, recently I mentioned how God brought to me Pastor Andrew Mandel and how we made covenant with each other to join hands in our journeys on the horizontal plane. My covenant with Pastor Andy is much deeper than most other covenants I've done with other leaders of Bougainville, PNG, SI, West Papua, with Fiji, and so on. Our covenant or vow to each other was sealed not only in custom and domimis or ceremony, but also by so many other things we've shared with each other over the years, which are only known to ourselves. Our covenant is forever. Therefore, I cannot fail him, and he too cannot fail me. Even if some unexpected issues or differences pop up somewhere, we still contain them, because our covenant is forever and overrides everything else. I won't go through all other covenants, agreements, contracts, treaties, memos, etc. I've done with other people around the world, because time does not permit me to do so in this little speech. But for our purposes today, by graduating you as multi-millionaire world financiers, I'm also making covenants with you. You are now my covenant partners on the horizontal plane of the earth. You are my covenant partners in the kingdom. Not only are you citizens of the kingdom, you are also covenant partners with me. I'm graduating you with your multi-millions because I know you will not fail me. Likewise, I too am promising you that I will not fail you. I'm not only your king or emperor, but I'm also your covenant friend and partner. More importantly, God, our most senior partner in this covenant, is watching over us. He will make sure that our covenant is not violated in any way, because it's forever. Along the way, many trials and testings will come, but our covenants will override everything and enable us to function, operate, and make our nation and people debt-free, independent, and sovereign. Money and finance. Over the years, I have come across many critics of people accusing me for putting too much emphasis on money. They quote scriptures like 1 Timothy 6 verse 10, "For the love of money is the root of all evil," and say the king loves money. Yet others quote scriptures like Ecclesiastes 10:19 and defend me, saying money answers all issues and problems of life. Recently, someone made a statement on Facebook arguing that he cannot really understand what was going on in Tono with the king. He argued that when God asked Solomon what he really wanted, he responded saying he only wanted wisdom. Therefore, God gave him both wisdom and money to rule his people. In saying so, he alluded that the king in Tono may have asked for money more than wisdom. But the guy did not understand that the king in Tono already has wisdom. That's why he set up a new monetary system for the whole world. And apart from wisdom, the king also has greatest creativity to create anything, anytime, out of nothing, and solve issues and problems of life whenever they arise. A creative soul, especially a pokeka, can create anything, anytime, anything, in any situation and circumstance. The reason why the king in Tono has put so much attention on money is due to the so much pain and agony his people of Bougainville have experienced over the years of their colonization. Bougainville's first UDI, or Unilateral Declaration of Independence, was made on 1st September 1975. Immediately afterwards, Bougainville leaders surrendered again to PNG, or foreign control, simply because they did not have any money to finance their independence. Money is tightly controlled by foreigners through a powerful global system. Bougainville's second UDI was made on 17 May 1990 and was led by late Francis Honor in his capacity as our revolutionary leader. However, the fact that there was no money again available to finance their independence finally forced his Vice President Joseph Kabwe to surrender to PNG with more than half of the population. That's how the ABC was formed. Today, Bougainville, under the Bougainville Peace Agreement, remains a province of PNG and will still be so until Bougainvilleans come up with their own monetary system. That's why when I saw that everything, including our own independence and sovereignty, revolves around the question of money, I decided to go for it in the way I have done. I saw that if no one tackles this important area, Bougainvilleans will continue to make one UDI after another UDI in years and decades to come. Someone, somewhere, needs to find a solution. That's what forced me into establishing the US financial system in 1998. Without money, we can't win this war of independence and sovereignty. Without money, we will continue to remain puppets or slaves of foreign money lenders. For example, the ABG already sold our island to the dogs for 9.7 billion kina. Instead of solving the problem of money and making our island and people debt-free, independent and sovereign, our leaders had sold our island again for money. Even PNG has a financial debt of almost 43 billion kina, plus a treasury debt of 363.7 billion. Its colonial debt or system debt is much more in the trillions of dollars. The present world is controlled by certain world financiers and lenders. They lend money with draconian terms and conditions. That's where the so-called international debt control cycle comes in. No country is free from debts. Every country or government is caught up in debts of loans or borrowed currency. This is where US comes to save the whole world from debts and loans. We want to make everyone, or every country, or government, or people 100% debt-free, independent, and sovereign. So the argument that I'm doing all of this because I love money is irrelevant, funny, and false. I'm only doing this because this is the greatest area the enemy has control over. We lost 20,000 lives fighting for independence, which can only come with our own money and monetary system. Mysteries of the kingdom. For some time, I've shared about the mysteries of God and the mysteries of the kingdom. One of the mysteries I've been talking about is to do with the firstborn and lastborn, or elder brother and younger brother, or firstborn son and lastborn son. I won't go deeper into this today, but just want to mention again that according to the testimonial stories in the Hebrew or Christian Bible, the covenant and kingdom always belongs to the lastborn. For example, when Adam lost his kingship in the Garden of Eden, the covenant had to pass to his younger brother, younger son, Abel. That's why his younger brother, Cain, had to kill him, but God had to replace him again with Seth. From Seth, the covenant again passed on to his younger brothers until it reached Noah. From Noah, the covenant passed down to his youngest son, Shem, and followed that line of lastborns until Abraham, from whom again the covenant, the kingdom, had to pass to his lastborn son, Isaac, not Ishmael, the elder. And from Isaac, the covenant, the kingdom, again had to pass on to his younger or lastborn son, Jacob, not Esau. And from Jacob to his youngest son, Benjamin, from whom the first king of Israel came, King Saul. And even when Saul sinned against God, he was replaced by another lastborn son called David, lastborn son of Jesse. The principles of God are everlasting. They cannot change. You can depend on them forever. That's why even today, after God took the theocratic kingdom away from Israel and given to this nation, there has to be another lastborn of the lastborn to become king. Even when our firstborn brother came 2,000 years ago, he did not change this principle. He did not take the kingdom away from the lastborn to give it to the firstborn. No, the principles of God cannot change. They are there forever. We are here just to live by them. He even gave us the story of the parable of the prodigal son in Luke 15:11-32 to remind us of the wonderful relationship that exists between the firstborn and the lastborn. It is the lastborn that makes all the news. Everything revolves around the lastborn. The firstborn is always there in the house and does not make any noteworthy testimonial stories. Even looking at the whole kingdom of Israel from the Bible, you can see that Israel is referred to as God's firstborn. Now, if the nation of Israel is truly God's firstborn, which nation is God's lastborn? We know from the Bible that if there is a firstborn nation, then there must be a lastborn nation too. If there is an elder brother, then there must also be a younger brother too. It's all logical according to the universal principles of God to think that way. Even Jesus was referred to as our firstborn brother. He is also referred to as our firstborn from creation. He is also referred to as the firstborn from the dead. He was also born to his parents, Joseph and Mary, as the firstborn son. It's not a mistake. Since the nation of Israel is referred to as the firstborn son of God, his only begotten son also had to be the firstborn as the firstborn son of the firstborn nation. And logically, if he is the firstborn, then there must also be a lastborn too somewhere. Identical twins and the fraternal twins. In one of my speeches last year, I discussed the concept of fraternal twins and identical twins. I won't go deeper into it at this time because I don't have much time. Just briefly, you all know there are two main types of twins in the world: fraternal twins and identical twins. Fraternal twins have a lot of differences between them. Identical twins are very difficult to distinguish because they have the same DNA. It's impossible to distinguish them from their own DNA. Some years ago in Germany, there was a robbery at a jewelry shop. Very expensive jewelry worth several $1 million was stolen. The detectives could not find anything whatsoever, not even a fingerprint. The only thing they could find was a little sweat drop on a paper. The detectives took that drop and after some time were led to someone whose DNA was very similar. However, they soon hit a problem because the guy had an identical twin brother with another, Both had the same DNA. The police found it very difficult to work out which of them committed the crime. And according to German law, they could not sue both of them, so they let both of them free. That's how close identical twins are. Of course, the fingerprints can be distinguished by experts. Fingerprints are all different from person to person. Experts can even distinguish the difference between your own left-hand fingerprint and from your right-hand fingerprint. Some years ago, I was chatting with an African on Partok and Jimmy. I introduced myself as last-born of the brethren for 14 generations. After a while, he asked me, "How do you relate to Jesus?" I told him, "Well, Jesus is my big brother. I'm his small brother. We are identical twins with the same DNA." We laughed and we continued chatting on other things. Just recently, someone also asked me the same question, and I responded the same way. We laughed and continued with our work. It's just amazing how people ask all kinds of questions. I'm just sharing these thoughts because there have been many similar questions raised not only here in King's Square or Bougainville, but also from around the world. Many have asked me, who is the head of the kingdom of Papala? And I tell them that the Spirit of God is the head of the kingdom. I'm the physical head of the kingdom. I'm just the physical head of the kingdom. Jesus is the Spirit and lives in the invisible world. But here in the physical, in the visible world, there has to be a physical king ruling. I tell them that the firstborn of the brethren rules the kingdom from the spirit world in heaven, while the last one of the brethren rules the kingdom from the physical plane, here on the physical plane. They are identical twins with the same DNA. Their fingerprints may be different and distinguishable, but their DNA is the same. The only difference is that the firstborn brother is invisible, while the lastborn brother is visible here. We all bow down to the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, who is in heaven in the spirit world. He cannot come down physically to establish his kingdom here on earth himself. Someone, a physical man with the same identical DNA but different fingerprints, must be used to establish the kingdom of heaven here on earth. Only then can the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit be promoted and worshipped. Just for your interest's sake, the following are some items that both the firstborn brother and the lastborn brother have in common. One, the firstborn brother was prophesied many thousands of years ago before his birth. Likewise, the lastborn brother was also prophesied many thousands and hundreds of years ago before his birth. Two, the firstborn brother was the 14th generation from the captivity in Babylon. You can read it from Matthew 1:17. Likewise, the lastborn brother, according to his family tree, is the 14th generation from Papala. Number three, the firstborn brother was born of a virgin. He had no biological father. Joseph had not slept with Mary when she became pregnant. Likewise, the lastborn brother is a Pokeka. He has no biological father, which was just surprised when he returned from war, brought up PNG, and so his wife was pregnant despite him not taking together. Number four, the firstborn brother was crucified by the authorities on an old Roman cross. because they were jealous of him. Likewise, the last-born brother was crucified on the tribunal of public opinion by the authorities because they were jealous of him. For the firstborn brother left the earth and ascended to heaven at the age of exactly 33 and a half years. The last-born brother commenced his earthly ministry of Jewish tract at exactly 33 and a half years of age. 6. The firstborn brother was betrayed by his own right-hand man, Judas. Likewise, the last-born brother has also been betrayed by his own right-hand man over the years. 7. The firstborn brother shed his own precious blood to save the world. Likewise, the last-born brother has shed his own precious blood to save the world. 7. 8. The firstborn brother had scars on his physical body from the nail spear into his hands and feet. Likewise, the last-born brother has scars on his body left by an M16 bullet. Number 9. The firstborn brother was black, according to recent research released by the Hebrew University. Likewise, the last-born brother is black, as you can see. The firstborn brother won the battle by the mysteries of God himself. Likewise, the last-born brother has won the battle by the very mysteries of God himself. Number 11, the firstborn brother has natural inheritance. The last-born brother has covenantal inheritance. 12, the firstborn brother has natural blessings. The last-born brother has covenantal blessings. 13, the firstborn brother is the natural heir to the throne. The last-born brother is the covenantal heir to the throne. The firstborn brother opens the womb. The last-born brother closes the womb. The firstborn brother preaches that the kingdom of heaven is at hand or about to come. The last-born brother establishes the kingdom. The firstborn brother prophesies about the kingdom of heaven. The last-born brother physically establishes the kingdom of heaven in the physical world. The firstborn brother opens the dispensation. The last-born brother closes the dispensation. The firstborn brother owns everything. The last-born brother owns a double portion of everything. The firstborn brother loves all of you. Likewise, the last-born brother loves all of you. I have no similarities to time, but time and space do not allow me. I have outlined these similarities only to help you out for now. These similarities make up the DNA of the firstborn brother and the last-born brother. And to help answer some of your questions in recent times. Everything still remains in the master plan, the mysteries, and omniscience of God, our Father in heaven. This is the best I can do to explain your questions for now. Submit yourself to God our Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and He Himself will reveal things to you better. Everything we do here on earth is subject to the master plan, mysteries, and omniscience of God. In the process of time, God will reveal more things to you. I have had many pastors come to me asking me, who am I? My response has always been, I will not tell you anything because I'm not from Israel, I'm not a Jew, I'm not a Gentile, I'm from Papara and Siwa, not someone make a movie of your book in life. Do not be confused, but pray so that God, our Father, will reveal things to you clearly. It's not my nature of telling you who I am. It's not in my DNA. It's best for the Holy Spirit Himself to reveal things to you rather than me telling you. The worship in the Spirit. Over the last few months, I've noticed from some of your songs and choruses, some of the words used are quite controversial and can be misinterpreted by new people coming in. Some people might think that they are worshiping King Upeii, the physical man. All glory and honor belongs to our Father in heaven, not to the physical representative. I too bow before my Father in heaven, who is a spirit. The spirit realm is greater and eternal compared to the physical realm, which is temporary. Of course, in the conventional world system out there, which we are replacing now, the Chief Justice or any judge or magistrate for that matter at the courthouse is the one to whom everyone, including prime ministers and presidents, must bow down to. If you have been to Waigani Supreme Court in Port Moresby, you would have seen lawyers and everyone bowing down to the judge and declaring him your worship, etc. Everyone in the courthouse worships the judge because he's the final decision maker at hand. His decision can land a person in jail or have him hanged without any question. His decision is final. That's why everyone in the courthouse in Waigani must bow down to him out of respect, honor, fear, and trembling, etc. Even in the theocratic kingdom of Israel, you can read from the Bible how everyone had to bow down or even prostrate themselves before the king because their life is in his hands. His decision is final. Whatever he says cannot be changed. No questions asked. That's how worship is only best available under a kingdom concept or system. However, here in our kingdom, I do not want to demand any outwardly acts of worship like that. I want everything to happen naturally and spontaneously as the Spirit leads. Therefore, I will not demand worship and will leave everything to the Holy Spirit to lead us in His own way. One of my governors from PNG, when he comes to my office, he bows down and he prays first before he comes to my chair and discusses with me. That's his way of doing things. I've seen people doing different things at different times. But let me just close my short speech and conduct the actual graduation ceremony. In closing, however, let me just point out the fact that I've gone through the above points because I want you to be well equipped when you go out to finance and lend money to the world. The Bible does not stop us from lending money. The Bible only warns us from charging interest upon our loans. The Bible actually tells us that as a sign of blessing, we shall lend and not borrow. We shall be the head and not the tail. And as a sign of curse, we shall borrow and not lend, and we shall be the tail and not the head. Therefore, let me just outline the three types of funds we give to countries, governments, kingdoms, etc. affiliated under RAN, Royal Assembly of Nations and Kingdoms. The first type of funding is called freedom grants. This type of funds is aimed at freeing countries and governments from their foreign debts owed to World Bank, IMF, China, etc., etc. We must free our affiliate countries because if they are not free, the people will not be free. But number two is budget enlargement funds. This type of funds is for enlarging the budgets of countries and nations and kingdoms, etc., affiliated to us. We must free them so the people too can be free. And extra investment funds, number three. This type of funds is aimed at providing extra funds to our affiliate countries and governments, nations and kingdoms, etc., which they can invest in various investment programs around the world, including our own high-yield investment programs, so they can keep making money for themselves. If they make interest, they pay us back our funds. But if they don't make any interest, they won't be expected to pay us or repay us. We don't charge them exorbitant interest rates because we are not here to make profit. We are here to provide service to them or everyone. Moreover, we already have too much money in our coffers and don't need extra. So all we're looking for is where to send these big funds for their benefit. Therefore, when you are lending money to people, governments or nations in your capacity as a world lender, please follow what we have already set up. Do not try to charge high interest on your loans. If they have to repay your loans, it must be without interest. Just let them repay your principal amount only. That's the system we advocate in your respect. I hope you got the point now. Remember that when Reverend Tantan gave food to our people at Papala, he did not charge them any interest. He just blessed them. While enjoying their food, he taught them about 14 denominations and types of members of PESI or share money. He instructed them how to find those shares from the sea and grind them into bits. From then, they went out teaching many others in other islands like Malaita, etc., teaching them how to make share money, etc., and trade with them. Tantan never told them to charge interest if they loaned money to their friends and relatives, etc. So very final comments. My very final comments regards the next 13 days. You all know that we will be having a very big closing ceremony on the 16th of August, 13 days from now. In 2008, our closing ceremony was marked by the map of this island, Bougainville, drawn up in the clouds by invisible hands. Immediately after my speech, and just when the Upeii people were raising the Upeii flags, an invisible hand drew the map of Bougainville above in the sky, in the clouds. Everyone saw it and took pictures, videos of it. It was there for almost an hour or so. Such a thing happened because there was unity of the brethren. The actual program was drawn up by and led by Pastor Andrew Menden. I only did the declaration, opening and closing ceremonies. I therefore asked Pastor Andrew to take the lead again in the program of the next 13 days towards the closing ceremony. The organizers must work together to make the next 13 days very successful and memorable. Maybe we can discuss the details further after the graduation ceremony in my office. Thank you. I have to stop here now and contact the actual graduation ceremony now. Thank you all for your listening ears. Blessings.
Thank you.